We've had a lot of discussions about humility. We've talked about how it involves our bodies. We've talked about how it involves our emotions. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how it involves our intellect. We're going to specifically talk about wisdom. And sometimes in circles, we talk about wisdom and knowledge as if they are the same thing. Sometimes we talk about them as if they are completely parallel. And that's not the truth. They're, number one, they're not the same. And number two, they don't always run in parallel to each other. You can have someone who has a lot of knowledge in a particular area and may still struggle with wisdom. You may have someone who has a lot of wisdom and they may not have knowledge in a particular area, but they still may be able to make good and helpful decisions just based on the wisdom that they have. Solomon starts out his writing in Proverbs by telling his readers to seek after wisdom and to know wisdom and to seek understanding. And so as I thought about that, I thought about the couple of things that go along with that. Typically, you can gain wisdom through experience. Now, you may have experiences and still not gain wisdom, but typically you can gain wisdom through experiences. You can also gain wisdom through observing, by watching what's happening to others and seeing what's going on in their lives. And then you gain wisdom by application. And this is what Solomon's one consistent call and refrain to his readers is that they submit themselves to God, that they apply themselves in their lives where they are at and in the circumstances they're in to God. And in so doing, they can get wisdom. And so wisdom is earned through time, pain, energy, and the experiences of our life. And as we think about that, how in the world does that relate to humility? Well, oftentimes in humility, if we're not careful, we'll seek to take the shortcut version. We'll seek to move from, the idea here to the full function of it here by simply reading a book or making it a part of our awareness for a week or two or maybe a month or two. And we'll think that, hey, I got to be on track here, right? And Hannah Anderson in her book, Humble Roots, which is what we have been utilizing and very grateful for this book, she makes the parallel, the analogy of growing her own tomato plants, where she and her husband raised them from seeds and then put them in planters and then eventually moved them outside. And the wonder of what she experienced in the summertime as she ate those sun-ripened and vine-ripened tomatoes, and then walking into a grocery store in October or November and grabbing a tomato off of the shelf and bringing it home and realizing it's not the same thing. It doesn't taste the same. And for those of you all who have raised your own tomatoes, you know that that's the truth and the reality of it. And so humility is something we don't get to take shortcuts in. It's not something where we can simply jump ahead or somehow presume that we can figure things out. And so I wanted to point out something. She shares such a valuable insight in this passage, and she talks about how in our Western culture and within our Christian Western culture, we oftentimes have this view, it's a modernistic view, that if I just teach my children the right answers, they'll become believers. If I just do enough research, I can find the one true biblical position on finances, food, entertainment, clothing, you name it. Or if I can just confront the logical flaws in my friend's argument. Maybe you have a friend who doesn't believe in God or they believe differently. If I can just find their logical flaws and show them where they're wrong, then I'll convince them. And we could add that belief to any other Christian doctrine that we may or may not hold or that we believe in or don't believe in. And so she reminds us that we're children of God, and as such, we walk by faith and not by sight. And so we have a calling into a way of life, into a submission, which is what Solomon says we should apply ourselves to. And the reality of our lives is this: God is calling us into something far greater than ourselves. And this walk in humility is something where we have to regularly apply ourselves, notice what is happening, live in that space, in that moment, ask God for wisdom and direction, and then follow the steps that he gives to us. So humility is something that there's no shortcuts for. We have to end up walking by faith into the places and spaces that God calls us to. God bless you. I'll talk to you next time.